I think it's safe to say that change is on my agenda. Change for good. And I embrace that and I enjoy that change.
Sandringham Estate was one of the late Queen's favorite places, filled with history and family memories. But recently, reports have claimed that Prince William is stepping in and taking control, a move that allegedly left Queen Camilla's family very upset. Was this a rightful transition of power, or the start of a family struggle? Join us as we find out. The Queen's estate passed down the royal line. Not many people know this, but Sandringham is not owned by the British government. It doesn't belong to the Crown in the way Buckingham Palace does. Sandringham is a private estate, bought with private money and passed down through the royal family, from one monarch to the next, like a family home passed between generations. This one detail changes everything about what comes next for the extended royal family. When people talk about who controls Sandringham, they are not talking about government decisions or royal charters, they are talking about private inheritance. And private inheritance follows very clear rules. The story of Sandringham goes all the way back to 1862. That year, the estate was purchased for a young Prince Albert Edward, who would later become King Edward VII. Queen Victoria and Prince Albert wanted their son to have a proper country home of his own, somewhere away from the busy life of London, somewhere he could hunt, ride, and breathe open air. They found a modest Georgian house sitting on a large piece of Norfolk land, and they bought it for him. The price was around £220,000 at the time, which was a large sum. From that moment, Sandringham became something very personal for the royal family. Not a place of state duty, but a place of genuine love. The estate covers approximately 20,000 acres of Norfolk countryside, sitting roughly 110 miles north of London. The main house is a large red brick building with tall chimneys, wide corridors, and rooms full of royal portraits, old photographs, and decades of family history. Around the main house, there are farms, forests, open fields, and smaller houses spread across the grounds. More than 200 people earn their living from the estate, tending farms, managing woodlands, keeping the gardens running through every season of the year. The gardens themselves cover around 600 acres, and members of the public are allowed to walk through part of them during certain times of year. But the big house, as the family has always called it, stays firmly private, and for each monarch who lived at Sandringham, they built a deep personal bond with the place. King George V called it his favorite home on earth. King George VI wrote about how happy he had always been there and how much the place meant to him. It was there he passed away, in February 1952, in a chair by the window in his bedroom. Queen Elizabeth II followed the same pattern. She arrived at Sandringham every year just before Christmas and often stayed well into February. She walked the grounds, she attended the little church on the estate, and she spent the long winter weeks in a house that felt more like home than anywhere else she lived. Queen Elizabeth made her very last visit to Sandringham in July 2022, just weeks before her passing in September of that year. Those who were with her during that visit later described how much the trip meant to her, how she walked through the gardens slowly, looked out across the Norfolk fields, and seemed at peace. When she passed away, Sandringham passed immediately to her son, King Charles III. Private property of this kind is inherited the moment the previous owner passes. On the same day he became king, Charles became the owner of Sandringham. Sandringham was also where the first royal Christmas broadcast was made. In 1932, King George V sat in front of a microphone and spoke directly to the people of Britain and the Commonwealth from inside the estate. It was the first time a British monarch had addressed the nation in that way, and it began a tradition that has continued for nearly a century. Queen Elizabeth gave her first televised Christmas message from Sandringham in 1957. The estate became part of the national imagination, a place where millions of people connect with the royal family every Christmas. The church on the grounds, St. Mary Magdalene, is where the royal family walks on Christmas morning. The walk from the big house to the church is short, just a few minutes across the grounds, but it is one of the most photographed moments in the British royal calendar. Crowds gather by the gate every year to catch a glimpse. Children holding flags, elderly people who have stood in the same spot for decades, tourists from around the world who have made the trip to Norfolk just to be there. What they are watching is a living symbol of continuity that belongs entirely to the royal family. What makes Sandringham so different from a royal palace is that whoever owns it has complete and total personal control. They answer to no government minister, no heritage body, no palace committee. They manage it however they wish. King Charles has already begun putting his own mark on the estate since inheriting it, introducing organic farming methods, planting thousands of new trees, and bringing in rare breed cattle. But King Charles will one day be succeeded by his son William. Sandringham is waiting, and everything that comes with it will one day belong to him alone. William's foothold at Sandringham. There is a small village sitting inside the Sandringham estate called Anmer. It is one of the quietest places in Norfolk, a handful of houses, a narrow road running through old trees, and open farmland stretching out in every direction. Fewer than 60 people live there. It is not the kind of place that appears on tourist maps or draws visitors from distant cities. But inside that village, just 2 miles from Sandringham House itself, sits a 10-bedroom Georgian mansion called Anmer Hall. William has planted his roots in this place, and it's the reason why, when people speak of Sandringham as Charles's estate, they are only telling half the story. This is the home that Queen Elizabeth II gave to Prince William and Kate as a wedding gift. The gifting was done around the time of William and Kate's wedding, in April 2011. Queen Elizabeth had a great fondness for William. He was her first grandchild, the boy who had walked behind his mother's coffin at just 15 years old. The young man she had watched grow into someone steady, serious, and deeply committed to his duty. Giving him Anmer Hall was not simply a practical decision. It was an act of love and trust. The late Queen wanted him to have somewhere of his own, somewhere connected to the family land, somewhere he could build a life for his children the way she had built hers at Sandringham. The house was hers to give. She gave it without hesitation. Although, William already knew Anmer Hall before it was ever given to him. When he was a young boy, his father Charles brought him and Harry to visit the estate regularly during their Christmas stays at Sandringham. There was a family friend who lived at Anmer Hall at the time, and the children were often taken there to play. William ran through those gardens as a small boy. He climbed the trees, crossed the same muddy fields, explored the same hedgerows that his own children would one day discover. When Queen Elizabeth offered him the house as a wedding gift, there was something deeply personal about it. He was not being handed a stranger's home. He was being given back a place he had already loved. Before William and Kate could move into Anmer Hall, a significant amount of work had to be done. The house needed a new roof. The kitchen was completely rebuilt. A conservatory was added to the back of the building, looking out over the garden. The driveway was rerouted so that the family would have greater privacy from the road. Hedges were planted and trees were added along the boundary to screen the house from passing traffic. The interior was redesigned from top to bottom. New floors, new bathrooms, new heating systems, new everything. By the time the renovation was complete, around £1.5 million had been spent transforming a handsome but tired country house into a warm, modern, practical family home. Then, in 2015, William and Kate moved into Anmer Hall as their primary residence. At that point, William was working as a pilot with the East Anglian Air Ambulance, a real job, a demanding job, one that required him to be available around the clock and to respond to emergencies across the Norfolk and Cambridgeshire region. The location made perfect sense. Kate was raising their young family. Prince George had been born in 2013, Princess Charlotte arrived in 2015, and the wide-open grounds of Anmer gave them space and privacy that no London address could ever offer. Friends who visited described the house as genuinely relaxed and informal. The kitchen was the heart of the home. The children had a garden big enough to run wild in. It felt like a real family lived there, not a royal performance. Even after William and Kate shifted their primary base back toward the south of England, first to Adelaide Cottage in Windsor, later to other arrangements, they kept Anmer Hall as their countryside retreat. They go there for school holidays, for long weekends, for the months when public duties slow down. During the lockdown in 2020, they spent a long stretch of weeks at Anmer Hall, educating the children from home, keeping to the grounds, away from the city. When Kate faced her health challenges in 2024, Anmer was the place she went to rest and recover, a house that felt safe and deeply familiar. Every Christmas, the royal family gathers in Norfolk. The celebrations center on Sandringham House, the big house that belongs to King Charles. But William and Kate have, in recent years, chosen to spend Christmas Day itself at Anmer, rather than joining the larger gathering at the main house. They attend the morning church service at St. Mary Magdalene, walking up the path with the rest of the royal family, greeting the crowds who gather outside the gate. The choice is revealing, present for the tradition, but firmly in control of their own space. This is why the picture of Sandringham as simply Charles's estate is incomplete. William has been there for years. The shoots William hosts on the estate, the early morning walks across the Norfolk fields, the long evenings in a house that has always felt more like home than anywhere else. All of it is rooted in the same land that will one day officially be his. When the moment comes and he steps forward to take ownership of Sandringham House itself, he will not be arriving as a newcomer learning his way around. He will simply be moving a little further down the road. The future takeover. There are things in royal life that do not need to be announced. They do not appear in palace press releases or get debated in Parliament. They simply happen. When a monarch passes away, private property does not wait in legal limbo. It does not pass through committees or require approval from the government. It moves directly and immediately to the next in line. For Sandringham, that means everything will pass from King Charles to Prince William. The current estimated value of the estate sits at around £60 million. But the true significance of that transfer has very little to do with money. Sandringham carries something that cannot be priced. It carries more than 160 years of royal Christmas tradition. It carries the memory of kings who passed away in its rooms and queens who walked its gardens every winter. It carries the weight of a nation's affection. The annual television images of the royal family heading to church on Christmas morning, the crowds lined up along the Norfolk roads, the sense that something permanent and real is being maintained. For the British public, Sandringham is not just an address, it is a symbol. And when William becomes its owner, he becomes the custodian of everything that symbol represents, including complete control over who belongs there and who does not.
That's the bit that excites me, is the idea of being able to bring some change. Not overly radical change, but changes that I think need to happen.
Camilla's position in that future picture is complicated, and in many ways fragile. As Queen Dowager, the formal title given to the widow of a king, she would carry great dignity and public respect. She would still attend major national events. She would still be a figure in the life of the nation, but she would have no automatic right to Sandringham. The estate is private. It belongs to whoever inherits it. While Clarence House and Buckingham Palace are crown properties, meaning they stay connected to whoever is the reigning monarch, Sandringham is different. It has always been different. It belongs personally to the person who inherits it, and when Charles goes, it belongs personally and entirely to William. This reality has quietly shaped the way people around the palace think and speak about the future. Even though nobody says it directly, nobody puts it bluntly in the media or a newspaper column, still those who understand how royal property works have always known the truth. Camilla's access to Sandringham depends entirely on her husband's lifetime. While Charles lives, she is the queen. She is at the center of everything. But the moment that changes, her connection to that Norfolk estate changes too. The house that has hosted royal Christmases for generations would pass to a man who has never fully opened his arms to her family, a man who has his own very clear ideas about who belongs inside his home. Camilla, for her part, has somewhere else to go. Ray Mill House sits in the Wiltshire countryside, near the small hamlet of Raybridge, in a quiet and beautiful part of England that Camilla has loved for decades. She bought the house in 1996, following her divorce from Andrew Parker Bowles, for around £850,000. The house is warm and informal, with dogs littered around and a kitchen that sees real cooking rather than catered royal meals. There is a garden full of beehives. There are rooms where grandchildren play. Even after Camilla became queen, she kept Ray Mill House and never let it go. After Queen Elizabeth's funeral in September 2022, while Charles went to Highgrove to grieve privately, Camilla went to Ray Mill. That choice was noted by those paying attention. Highgrove is the home she shares with Charles. Ray Mill is the home she chose for herself. In a future where Charles is gone and Sandringham belongs to William, Ray Mill House would become her anchor, the place from which she would carry out whatever royal duties she still performs, the place her own children and grandchildren would visit, the place that is entirely and unmistakably hers. For those watching from outside, the picture is clear. Sandringham represents access. It represents status within the royal family at its most private and personal level. To be invited there for Christmas, to be given a home on the grounds, to walk into the big house on Christmas morning and sit down to dinner with the monarch, these things signal belonging. They signal that you are truly part of the inner circle. So when William takes ownership of the estate, every one of those signals passes through his hands. He decides who belongs, who is welcomed, whose name is on the invitation, and whose is quietly left off. The timing of all this remains uncertain. King Charles's health has been a very serious concern since his cancer diagnosis in early 2024. Those who observe the palace closely say that William has already begun stepping into responsibilities that would normally wait for a future king. He has taken on more duties and has made more decisions. The machinery of royal succession is turning, slowly and steadily, preparing for the moment when everything changes. And when that moment arrives, Sandringham will have a new owner, and with that comes new rules. Camilla's family on the edge. Tom Parker Bowles has built a good life for himself. He is a respected food writer, the author of several well-received books about cooking and eating, a familiar face in London's restaurant world, and someone who carries himself with confidence. He is also Queen Camilla's son, the child she had with her first husband, Andrew Parker Bowles, before the marriage to Charles, before the titles and the crowns and all of it. Tom did not choose any of that royal story. He was born into one chapter of it and watched the rest of it unfold from the outside, like a curious bystander at a parade he hadn't been invited to join. For most of his adult life, Tom spent Christmas Day with his ex-wife Sarah Byes and their two children, Lola and Freddie. He and Sarah separated and later divorced, but they maintained a warm and cooperative relationship when it came to the children, and the arrangement of splitting the festive season worked well for everyone involved. Sandringham was something his mother attended. It was something she put on her best clothes for, something that belonged entirely to her royal life, a world Tom watched from a comfortable distance without feeling much need to be part of it. He once admitted quite openly that he had never really experienced a royal Christmas firsthand, and that what he knew about it came largely from what Camilla had told him. It sounded, by his telling, rather more formal, and rather less fun than Christmas should be. However, that changed in 2024. Camilla made the decision to ask Tom to come to Sandringham for Christmas that year, and it was a decision rooted in something very simple. She had been through an extremely difficult period. Charles had been seriously ill. Kate had faced her own grave health challenge. The mood inside the royal family had been heavier than usual, shadowed by worry. Camilla felt the pull toward her own children, her own blood, the people who had known her before any of the royal world existed. Tom and his sister Laura Lopes both agreed to join the Christmas celebrations at Sandringham that year. For Tom, stepping through the door of that famous house for Christmas was a genuinely new experience, something he approached with a mixture of real warmth and barely disguised amusement at the formality of it all. He spoke about the experience publicly afterward, and what he described was a world of very precise arrangements. The schedule of the day followed a pattern that had been set years before he was born. Everything happened in a particular order, at a particular time, with a particular level of decorum that Tom found both impressive and slightly bewildering. He was there because his mother wanted him there. He was there because she needed her family close. But he was also, unmistakably, a visitor in a house that operated by rules he had not grown up with and did not fully belong to. What Tom did not know, or perhaps did sense, without wanting to examine it too closely, was that his presence at Sandringham was not welcomed by everyone inside that house. Sources close to Prince William made clear that William was not comfortable with the arrangement. His feelings toward Camilla's children had never been warm in the way that a proper stepfamily relationship might have been. He had accepted Camilla as his father's wife, publicly and politely, and he had done so with more grace than many people expected after everything the family had been through. But accepting Camilla was different from embracing her children. Tom's life, the London restaurants, the social ease, the food writing world, the circles he moved in, was a long distance from how William operated. One well-placed source described William as feeling uncertain about what to do with Tom, about how Tom fitted into the picture, about what, including him in the most private royal gathering of the year, actually meant for the family's image and its carefully managed boundaries. The discomfort was not loud or dramatic. It was the kind of discomfort that manifests in small choices, such as choosing to spend Christmas Day at Anmer Hall rather than at the big house on the days when Tom was around. The pattern became noticeable. When Tom and Laura were at Sandringham, William and Kate were at Anmer. When Tom was not there, the family gathered more easily in the main house. Nobody pointed it out directly, but for those inside the royal world who paid attention to such things, the meaning was clear. The two sides of the royal household were moving around each other very carefully, sharing the same estate without sharing the same space. And this was happening while Camilla was still queen, while Charles was still alive, while Sandringham still belonged to her husband. Laura Lopes confirmed publicly that she and Tom would not be at Sandringham every year, that they planned to alternate, 1 year on and 1 year off. The phrasing was practical and reasonable, but in the context of Sandringham, where an invitation carries the weight of belonging, choosing to be absent says something. Being absent from William's Christmas means being outside the circle that he is already, slowly drawing tighter around himself and his family. When he eventually takes full ownership of that estate, the circle will be drawn with a much firmer hand, a shift in power William. There is a version of the British monarchy that William has been imagining and working toward for years. It is smaller than the monarchy he grew up watching. It is cleaner, more focused, and far easier for the public to understand and support. It does not have dozens of extended family members drifting in and out of public life, occasionally embarrassing the institution and complicating the story that the palace is trying to tell. It does not carry people who have not earned their place through direct royal duty, or birth, or service. This is the monarchy William wants, and he has been pushing toward it, quietly but consistently, for a long time. The phrase that gets used in royal circles is the slimmed-down monarchy. It is a concept that King Charles has also endorsed, and one that royal commentators have written about extensively. The basic idea is straightforward. Only a small number of working royals represent the crown officially and draw from public funds for royal duties. Everyone else steps back, the supporting cast shrinks, the spotlight narrows. What remains is a core family unit that is tight, focused, and easy to defend when the public or the press ask hard questions about what the monarchy is actually for. William has taken this idea and made it personal. For him, it is not just a structural reform. It is a reflection of what he genuinely believes the institution should look like. The truth is that his feelings about Camilla have always been layered and carefully managed. He was a teenage boy when the full scale of his father's relationship with Camilla became publicly known. He watched what that relationship did to his mother. He watched what it did to the public image of the royal family. He carried that with him through his entire adolescence and into his adult life. When Charles announced that he intended to marry Camilla in 2005, William gave his blessing publicly and with what appeared to be genuine grace. He stood beside them at important occasions. He treated Camilla with courtesy and respect in every public setting. The acceptance was real, and it was noted and appreciated by people inside the palace. But acceptance is not the same as warmth, and warmth was something William reserved for a much smaller group of people. The clearest signal of how William handles situations he believes threaten the monarchy came through his approach to his uncle, Prince Andrew. When the connection between Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein became a full public scandal, William made his position known through the channels available to him. He reportedly made clear, to those with the power to act, that the situation could not continue. The monarchy could not keep shielding Andrew from consequences while the public watched and the reputation of the institution suffered. A line had to be drawn. That same instinct, the instinct to identify what does not belong and to act on it rather than let things drift, applies directly to the question of Sandringham. The estate is the clearest possible expression of who is truly inside the royal family and who is not. The people around William who understand his thinking say he approaches the future with a very clear sense of what he wants it to look like. He does not want inherited problems. He does not want complications that require constant management. He does not want guests at his table who create tension simply by being there. When he looks at the map of the Sandringham estate, he sees a place that should belong entirely to his vision. Kate and the children would be at the center of it. A small number of close family members would be welcome. The broader circle of people who gathered there during his grandmother's time and during his father's time would begin to shrink. Camilla herself may not resist this shift as strongly as people expect. She is a woman who has always understood the difference between the royal world and her own private life. Ray Mill House has never stopped being her real home. Her children, Tom and Laura, have built full and independent lives outside the palace gates. She has never pushed to make them working royals or demanded that they be treated as central figures in the family. What she has done is try to keep them close during difficult times, which is simply what a mother does. But once Charles is gone and William holds the keys to Sandringham, the dynamics will settle into something much more formal and much less flexible. Camilla's family will no longer have any natural pull toward that estate. For Tom and Laura, the future of Sandringham is already beginning to take shape around them, even before it officially changes hands. They can feel the edges of it in the alternating Christmas invitations, in the careful distance that is maintained during family gatherings, in the sense that the welcome mat is always slightly smaller than they might have hoped. When William becomes king and walks into Sandringham House as its owner, a chapter will close. The estate will belong to a man with a very clear idea of what it is for and who it is for. And for Camilla's family, that idea will not include them. Do you think Camilla already feels insecure? Let us know your views in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.